1. Turning water into wine. At a wedding in Cana, Jesus performed his first miracle. The hosts ran out of wine, which was a big problem since it was customary for celebrations to last several days. Mary, Jesus' mother, informed him of the issue. Although Jesus initially hesitated, he eventually instructed the servants to fill 6 large stone jars with water. When the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine, he was amazed at its quality. This miracle revealed Jesus' divine power and compassion, showing that he cared about the joy and needs of the people. It also demonstrated that Jesus could bring transformation in everyday life, turning ordinary elements into something extraordinary. 2. Healing the royal official's son. A royal official approached Jesus in Cana, desperately seeking help for his sick son in Capernaum. Jesus told the official, "Go, your son will live." The man believed Jesus and started his journey back home. On his way, his servants met him with the news that his son was recovering. When he inquired about the time of the improvement, he realized it was the exact moment Jesus had declared his son would live. This miracle highlights the power of faith and Jesus' ability to heal from a distance. It underscores the belief that faith in Jesus' words can bring about miraculous changes, even without his physical presence. Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love. 3. The Great Haul of Fish. After a night of unsuccessful fishing, Jesus instructed Peter to cast his net into deep waters. Skeptical but obedient, Peter did as told, resulting in a huge catch that their nets began to break. They had to call for help from another boat to secure the fish. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over nature and his ability to provide abundantly. It also signified a call to discipleship, as Jesus told Peter, "From now on you will fish for people." The event symbolized the potential for transformation and abundance when one follows Jesus' guidance, emphasizing obedience and faith. 4. Healing a possessed man in Capernaum. In a synagogue in Capernaum, Jesus encountered a man possessed by an unclean spirit. The spirit recognized Jesus and cried out, but Jesus commanded it to be silent and come out of the man. The spirit obeyed, leaving the man unharmed. This miracle revealed Jesus' authority over evil spirits and his power to deliver people from oppression. It amazed the onlookers and spread Jesus' fame throughout the region. This act demonstrated Jesus' role as a liberator and protector, emphasizing his divine authority and compassion for those suffering from spiritual bondage. 5. Healing Peter's mother-in-law. Jesus visited Peter's home and found his mother-in-law bedridden with a high fever. He took her by the hand, and the fever left her immediately. She got up and began to serve them. This miracle showed Jesus' compassion and healing power in a personal and intimate setting. It highlighted the restorative nature of Jesus' miracles, bringing not only physical healing but also the ability to return to normal life and activities. The act of service by Peter's mother-in-law after her healing exemplified the response of gratitude and the importance of using one's restored health to serve others. 6. Healing the sick. At sunset, many people brought their sick to Jesus, and he healed them all. This mass healing demonstrated Jesus' compassion and his universal power to heal various ailments and diseases. It reinforced the idea that Jesus' miracles were not limited to a few but were available to all who came to him. This event highlighted the inclusive nature of Jesus' ministry, showing that his healing power was accessible to everyone, regardless of their condition. It also emphasized the importance of faith and the willingness of people to seek Jesus for their needs. 7. Healing a leper. After preaching, a leper approached Jesus, begging to be healed. Moved with compassion, Jesus touched him and said, "Be clean." Immediately, the leprosy left the man. This miracle showed Jesus' willingness to touch the untouchable and break social norms for the sake of compassion. Leprosy was a highly stigmatized condition, and Jesus' act of touching the man demonstrated his love and acceptance for those marginalized by society. It also emphasized Jesus' power to cleanse and restore individuals physically and socially, highlighting his role as a healer and restorer. 8. Healing a paralyzed man in Capernaum. A paralyzed man was brought to Jesus on a mat by his friends. Unable to get through the crowd, they lowered him through the roof. Jesus, seeing their faith, told the man, "Your sins are forgiven." Some questioned Jesus' authority to forgive sins, so he also told the man to get up and walk. The man did so immediately. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority to forgive sins and his power to heal physically. It emphasized the connection between spiritual and physical healing, showing that Jesus' ministry addressed both aspects of human need. The act of the friends highlighted the importance of faith and community in seeking Jesus' help. 9. Healing a man who was crippled. At the pool of Bethesda, Jesus encountered a man who had been crippled for 38 years. Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be well?" The man explained his inability to reach the healing waters. Jesus told him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." The man was immediately healed and did as instructed. This miracle highlighted Jesus' initiative in seeking out those in need and his power to heal long-term conditions. It also emphasized the importance of willingness to be healed and the transformative impact of Jesus' words. The act of carrying his mat symbolized a new beginning and the end of dependence on others. 10. Healing a withered hand. In a synagogue, Jesus encountered a man with a withered hand. It was the Sabbath, and some were watching to see if Jesus would heal on this holy day. Jesus asked the man to stand up and then told him to stretch out his hand. As he did, his hand was completely restored. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over religious laws and his prioritization of compassion over ritual. It highlighted the importance of doing good and showing mercy, even when it goes against traditional rules. The healing emphasized Jesus' mission to restore and bring wholeness, challenging legalistic interpretations of the Sabbath. 11. Healing many people. Throughout his ministry, Jesus healed numerous people who came to him. These mass healings demonstrated his universal compassion and his divine power to address a wide range of ailments. It showed that Jesus' miracles were not limited to specific individuals but were available to all who sought him. This ongoing healing ministry highlighted the inclusive nature of Jesus' work and his commitment to alleviating human suffering. It also emphasized the importance of faith and the collective hope that people placed in Jesus for their healing and restoration. 12. Healing a centurion's servant. A centurion approached Jesus, pleading for his servant's healing. The centurion expressed his faith by saying that Jesus only needed to speak the word, and his servant would be healed. Jesus marveled at his faith and declared that the servant was healed. When the centurion returned home, he found his servant well. This miracle emphasized the power of faith and Jesus' ability to heal from a distance. It showcased the belief in Jesus' authority and the recognition of his power by someone outside the Jewish community. The centurion's faith highlighted the inclusivity of Jesus' ministry and the importance of believing in his word. 13. Raising a widow's son. In the town of Nain, Jesus encountered a funeral procession for a widow's only son. Moved by compassion, Jesus told the widow not to cry. He then touched the bier and commanded the young man to get up. The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' power over death and his deep compassion for those grieving. It emphasized his ability to restore life and bring hope to hopeless situations. The act of raising the widow's son highlighted Jesus' mission to bring restoration and comfort, showing his empathy and divine authority. 14. Healing a blind and mute demon-possessed man. Jesus encountered a man possessed by a demon who caused him to be both blind and mute. Jesus cast out the demon, and the man immediately regained his sight and speech. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over demons and his power to heal complex conditions. It highlighted the connection between spiritual and physical healing, showing that Jesus' miracles addressed both aspects of human suffering. The restoration of the man's sight and speech emphasized Jesus' role as a liberator and healer, bringing wholeness to individuals oppressed by evil forces. 15. Calming the storm. While crossing a lake with his disciples, a violent storm arose, threatening to capsize their boat. Jesus, who was sleeping, was awakened by his terrified disciples. He rebuked the wind and waves, and the storm immediately subsided. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over nature and his ability to bring peace in chaotic situations. It emphasized the importance of faith in Jesus during times of fear and uncertainty. The calming of the storm highlighted Jesus' divine power and his role as a protector, assuring his followers of his presence and control over all circumstances. 16. Healing the Gerasene demon-possessed man. In the region of the Gerasenes, Jesus encountered a man possessed by many demons. The demons, recognizing Jesus, begged not to be sent into the abyss. Jesus allowed them to enter a herd of pigs, which then ran into a lake and drowned. The man was restored to his right mind. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over a legion of demons and his power to deliver individuals from severe spiritual bondage. It highlighted the transformative impact of Jesus' intervention, as the man went from being tormented to being at peace. The event emphasized Jesus' role as a liberator and his compassion for those suffering from demonic oppression. 17. Healing a woman with internal bleeding. A woman who had suffered from internal bleeding for 12 years approached Jesus in a crowd, believing that touching his garment would heal her. As she did, she was immediately healed. Jesus, aware that power had gone out from him, asked who touched him. The woman came forward, and Jesus told her that her faith had healed her. This miracle highlighted the importance of faith and persistence in seeking Jesus' help. It demonstrated Jesus' compassion and his power to heal even through indirect contact. The woman's healing emphasized the personal nature of Jesus' miracles and his responsiveness to individual faith. 18. Raising Jairus' daughter. Jairus, a synagogue leader, pleaded with Jesus to heal his dying daughter. On the way to Jairus' house, they received news that the girl had died. Jesus told Jairus to have faith and continued to the house. He took the girl by the hand and said, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." She immediately got up and walked around. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' power over death and his ability to bring life to the lifeless. It emphasized the importance of faith in Jesus' power even in seemingly hopeless situations. The raising of Jairus' daughter highlighted Jesus' role as a life-giver and his compassion for those in desperate need. 19. Healing two blind men. Two blind men followed Jesus, crying out for mercy. Jesus asked if they believed he could heal them, and they affirmed their faith. Jesus touched their eyes, and they were immediately healed. This miracle emphasized the importance of faith in receiving healing from Jesus. It demonstrated Jesus' compassion and his power to restore sight to the blind. The healing of the two blind men highlighted Jesus' role as a light bringer, opening the eyes of those living in darkness and emphasizing the transformative power of faith in Jesus' healing ministry. 20. Healing a mute man possessed by a demon. A mute man possessed by a demon was brought to Jesus. Jesus cast out the demon, and the man immediately began to speak. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over demons and his power to heal physical impairments caused by spiritual oppression. It highlighted the connection between spiritual and physical healing, showing that Jesus' miracles addressed both dimensions of human suffering. The restoration of the man's speech emphasized Jesus' role as a liberator and healer, bringing wholeness to those afflicted by evil forces. 21. Healing people after being rejected in Nazareth. Despite being rejected in Nazareth, Jesus continued to heal a few sick people by laying his hands on them. This miracle highlighted Jesus' unwavering compassion and commitment to healing, even in the face of rejection and unbelief. It demonstrated that Jesus' power was not diminished by the lack of faith around him but was always available to those who sought him. The healing of the sick in Nazareth emphasized the inclusive nature of Jesus' ministry and his dedication to bringing restoration and hope, regardless of the response he received from the community. 22. Performing signs in Jerusalem. During the Passover in Jerusalem, Jesus performed many miraculous signs, leading many people to believe in him. These signs demonstrated Jesus' divine authority and his role as the Messiah. They highlighted the connection between Jesus' miracles and the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies. The signs in Jerusalem emphasized the revelatory nature of Jesus' miracles, revealing his identity and mission to bring salvation. They also underscored the importance of faith in recognizing and responding to Jesus' divine power and the transformative impact of his ministry on believers. 23. Healing of many in Bethsaida. Despite the threat from Herod Antipas, Jesus continued to heal many people in Bethsaida. This act demonstrated Jesus' courage and determination to fulfill his mission, regardless of external dangers. It highlighted his universal compassion and commitment to alleviating human suffering. The healing of many in Bethsaida emphasized the inclusive nature of Jesus' ministry and his dedication to bringing restoration to all who sought him. It also showcased Jesus' ability to provide physical and spiritual healing, reinforcing his role as a compassionate and powerful healer. 24. Feeding 5,000 men and their families. A large crowd followed Jesus to a remote place. As evening approached, the disciples suggested sending the people away to get food. Instead, Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fish, gave thanks, and distributed them to the crowd. Everyone ate and was satisfied, and the disciples collected 12 baskets of leftovers. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' power to provide abundantly and his compassion for the physical needs of the people. It emphasized the importance of sharing and gratitude. The feeding of the 5,000 highlighted Jesus' role as a provider and his ability to turn scarcity into abundance, showcasing his divine nature. 25. Walking on water. After feeding the 5,000, Jesus sent his disciples ahead in a boat while he went to pray. During the night, the disciples saw Jesus walking on water towards them. Terrified, they thought he was a ghost, but Jesus reassured them, saying, "Take courage. It is I, don't be afraid." Peter, wanting to join, stepped out of the boat but began to sink when he doubted. Jesus saved him, and they both climbed into the boat. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' authority over nature and the importance of faith and trust in him. It emphasized Jesus' presence in times of fear and the need to focus on him rather than the surrounding circumstances. 26. Healing a deaf man with a speech impediment. In the region of Decapolis, some people brought a deaf man who also had a speech impediment to Jesus. Jesus took the man aside, put his fingers in the man's ears, and touched his tongue. Looking up to heaven, Jesus said, "Be opened." The man's ears were opened, and he began to speak plainly. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' compassionate and personal approach to healing. It highlighted his power to restore both hearing and speech, addressing physical disabilities with sensitivity and care. The healing of the deaf man emphasized Jesus' role as a healer who brings wholeness and communication, restoring individuals to full participation in their communities. 27. Bringing Lazarus back to life. Lazarus, a close friend of Jesus, fell ill and died. 4 days after Lazarus was placed in a tomb, Jesus arrived in Bethany. Moved by the grief of Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, Jesus wept. He then went to the tomb, prayed, and called out, "Lazarus, come out." Lazarus emerged from the tomb, alive. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' power over death and his deep compassion for those who mourn. It emphasized the importance of faith in Jesus as the resurrection and the life. The raising of Lazarus highlighted Jesus' divine authority and his ability to bring life and hope to seemingly hopeless situations. 28. Healing 10 lepers. While traveling to Jerusalem, Jesus encountered 10 lepers who stood at a distance and called out for mercy. Jesus told them to go show themselves to the priests. As they went, they were healed. One of them, a Samaritan, returned to thank Jesus. Jesus noted the man's gratitude and faith, highlighting the lack of thankfulness from the others. This miracle demonstrated Jesus' universal compassion and the importance of gratitude and faith. It emphasized that Jesus' healing power was available to all, including those marginalized by society, and highlighted the significance of recognizing and giving thanks for God's blessings. 29. Healing Bartimaeus of blindness. As Jesus was leaving Jericho, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus called out to him, asking for mercy. Despite being rebuked by the crowd, Bartimaeus persisted. Jesus asked what he wanted, and Bartimaeus requested to see. Jesus said, "Go, your faith has healed you." Immediately, Bartimaeus received his sight and followed Jesus. This miracle demonstrated the power of persistent faith and Jesus' compassion for those marginalized. It highlighted the importance of calling out to Jesus despite opposition and the transformative impact of his healing power. Bartimaeus' healing emphasized Jesus' role as a light bringer, restoring both physical and spiritual sight. 30. The Resurrection. 3 days after his crucifixion, Jesus rose from the dead. Women who went to anoint his body found the tomb empty and were told by angels that Jesus had risen. Jesus appeared to his disciples and many others, demonstrating his victory over death. This miracle is the cornerstone of Christian faith, emphasizing Jesus' divine nature and his power over life and death. It serves as the foundation for the belief in the resurrection of the dead and eternal life. The resurrection signifies the ultimate triumph of good over evil, sin, and death. It is celebrated by Christians worldwide during Easter, which is considered the most important and joyous of Christian holidays. The resurrection also fulfills Old Testament prophecies and Jesus' own predictions about his death and rising again. It confirms Jesus as the Messiah and Son of God, providing a powerful testament to his teachings and his divinity. This event led to the rapid growth of the early Christian church as the apostles and early Christians spread the message of Jesus' resurrection and the hope it brings. The Apostle Paul, in his letters, especially emphasizes the importance of the resurrection. In 1 Corinthians 15 verse 14, he states, "And if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless and so is your faith." This underscores that the resurrection is not just an event in history but the very heart of the Christian gospel. It assures believers of their own resurrection and eternal life through faith in Jesus Christ.